to After the Game, Indiana basketball post-game show, coming to you live from Southern Stone Restaurant here in Bloomington, Indiana, corner of Patterson and Rogers, with Steve Risley, Riz the Grizz. How are you, sir?
I'm living life large out here in LA. You know, just 91 degrees here today, sunny, a beautiful day. Hit
You
the
just
beach
get off the
a little
surfboard?
bit.
Did you just get off the surfboard?
You know, I think the sharks are after me. They see a lot of meat and a lot of fat on my butt, and you know, they're thinking that's a good hefty Thanksgiving dinner right there.
It's coming up. Well, man, welcome in everybody, and what a treat tonight
Hey,
to
I got
have
one
Steve
question.
Risley with us. Yes,
How
sir.
do you not have a John Mellencamp song opening up this show?
Well, we'd have to pay for that.
Well, I mean, as big as this show is, can't you guys afford that?
Well, we may have to have some conversations with Johnny C. But yeah, folks, you're lucky. You got Riz the Grizz on tonight. Steve Risley, of course, played
I don't know if you're
with
lucky.
White's Woodson back in the day. But what a performance tonight by the Indiana Hoosiers. The big question, Steve, was will they come back tonight and play hard for 40 minutes, no letdowns? And I think that question was answered with a resounding yes. Man, they came out playing defense from the start. They did not let up. Offensively, the shooting was way better than it was tonight than it was the other night. Just not a lot. There's nothing really to complain about here tonight, but great performance.
Yeah, I think that the takeaway things are the biggest takeaway for me is sustainability of effort. I thought Indiana opened up in the first game with great effort, but you know, you go from a 20-point lead down to a tie ball game or 2 points down, however close the game got. Certainly tells me that they had not figured out sustainability of effort yet. And I think that's the most critical thing any basketball team can be working on right now. Shooting's going to come. Cohesiveness is going to come. Continuity in the offensive scheme is going to come. All those things are going to fall into place over the preseason schedule. That's why we play a preseason schedule. But the sustainability of effort needs to be there every game you play, every single game you play all season long. That was the note I wrote down in case somebody called me to give my unbelievable knowledge of this team in the first game. But I wanted them to sustain that for the whole 40 minutes. Tonight, it looks like they did. You know, the shooting percentages for us were solid all across the board, and they were consistent. And there was not much drop-off in the second half. And same with holding the opponents to shooting percentages. What were the opponents? 18% from the three-point line and 30%, I think, from the two-point line. And that was
exactly.
It was both at about 20 at halftime. So that tells me they sustained their defensive effort for the whole things. I know Mike. I've known Mike since we were both 8, 9 years old. I know what he believes in. He's stamped and bred a defensive player, and he's going to be that way. Every player that played for Knight is stamped that way. You know, we're all defensive players. We know, and that we understand the value of defense, and for him to be able to sustain that kind of defensive effort for the duration of this game, regardless of who you're playing right now. Indiana is playing against themselves. They're playing against their abilities, and their opponent is not really that material right now.
And how hard is that to do?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to do because teams that are not as good as you're going to face in the Big Ten are going to throw you off just because they're not as good. And they're going to take you out of your sync. But it appears so far in the first two games, Indiana and Mike has been able, and Dane and those guys and Thad have been able to instill that in the players that don't play your opponents, play to your potential. And that's another Knightism that we're going to see more and more of is just play to your potential, and you'll be fine no matter who you're playing. And it doesn't mean you're going to win every game. Because sometimes talent does come into play and sometimes shooting, which are intangibles. But the effort Indiana gave the first game and tonight has got to be very pleasing to every Hoosier fan watching IU basketball right now. It's a great start for Mike and his coaching staff and his players.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the shooting, obviously, because that was the topic the other night, and not in a good way. It will be a lot better tonight. But we have to start off with Trace Jackson Davis. Man, he played like an All-American tonight, Steve. He did everything, and he came out out of the gate playing hard. He was making moves to the basket that looked confident. He wasn't trying to force things, and really played with it himself. He hit free throws, more importantly. As a matter of fact, he got to the free throw line 11 times. That's why it's so important that he can't go 0 for 4 or that he's got to hit these. He was 7 of 11. You're going to take that on pretty much any night from him. As a matter of fact, Indiana would shoot 77% from the free throw line. Probably going to take that on any night as well. But Trace Jackson Davis, 19.7 rebounds and 7 blocked shots. That's fourth best all time, tied Steve Downing from 71. But what an incredible game for TJD tonight, man.
Yeah, I think my career stats say I have 2 block shots.
You're right, whatever.
For 4 years. No, and for Trace to come out and shoot 7 of 11 with the effort that he gives you every second he's on the court, that kid's playing tired 5 minutes into the game. Winded, tired. I don't want to say, I don't think he's out of shape. He's spending energy harder than anybody on that basketball court every minute he's on that basketball court. And for him to have that sustainability, that panache to get out there and still shoot 7 of 11 on the free throw line. Again, I think that's a tribute back to Mike and keeping these kids at an even keel and a smooth pace and not really getting on them or ripping on them so much and doing anything really negative, but just continuing to build step by step. And we got a lot of time now to get this team ready to go. And, the scoring was very balanced tonight. Everybody seemed to contribute that came in. He's got a very deep basketball team right now.
Oh, yes, he does.
He's going to have to pare that down at some point, I think, and get that into a 7 or 8 man rotation, which Mike will. He knows that. He's coached in the NBA. He knows how to do that. And he's got Dane with him, who's certainly playing under Izzo, knows how to do it, and Thad knows how to do it. So you're going to see that pare down. But right now, that's a better decision to make than wishing you had 7 or 8 players to put into a rotation.
Absolutely. And there's a couple of starters that are not – it's only been 2 games, but they haven't done a lot production-wise. But I think Miller Kopp is a calming influence on the floor because he's a 3-year veteran of the Big Ten. Only 4 points tonight for him, and so he didn't do a lot, but he was out there, like I said. And Parker Stewart, not a lot from him. Very quiet night for a guy that starts, but I guess he's got to find his way. 0 points. He's the only player that Duncombe didn't score, but he only played like a couple of minutes. Stewart 0 for 5 on the night, 0 for 4 behind the 3-point line. So still looking for his rhythm, but that's the thing. This team looked much more in rhythm offensively tonight. The passes were scripted. Man, here at the Southern Stone, man. See, you're not here at Southern Stone, man. But that damn thing is hot. Woo, that's fresh there, boy. Look, that's some Cajun stuff there. But can't wait for you to come into Bloomington. You got to come to Bloomington, come to Southern Stone. But yeah,
I'm never leaving Malibu ever again in my life. Are you kidding me? There are movie stars out here.
That's true. But yeah, the rhythm was very visual, but hitting shots helps a lot with that, doesn't it, Steve?
Yeah, it certainly does. But again, I want to go back to just something you said kind of earlier in your dissertation, which was good. I don't like to, being me, I don't like to measure a person's contributions to a basketball game by how many points they scored. There are so many other ways.
That's because you're smarter than me.
Yeah, well, no, not necessarily. It's just the first thing we look at is how many points did Trace get or how many points did somebody get. And certainly we've got to have scores. But, I was a 27-point-a-game scorer at Lawrence Central and in Indianapolis and had a higher scoring average than Mike. And I came in a year after Mike at IU, and Mike was our scorer. And Knight looked at me and said, Risley, you're going to contribute for us in other ways. Look, I played against Xavier Johnson 5 times in my career. I had 5 fouls to give per game. I used 25 fouls on that son of a buck. I fouled him. I fouled out every time guarding him, and I knew that was my responsibility, was to put him in a different position, rough him up a little bit, get him worn out and tired. So when we got to the end of the game, he might not have the strength he did. So I don't put a gross amount of evidence into how much people points score. There are other ways people are contributing: blocking shots, as we said, rebounding, setting good screens for the shooters to get open, helping out and being an help side. Are you an
like Forrest here says, playing good defense, like Forrest said.
Yeah, playing good defense is we learned to like playing defense more than we did offense. And Mike liked playing offense more than the rest of us. But Isaiah liked playing offense. Kitchell liked playing offense. But the rest of us had our fun on defense.
Speaking of Kitchell, he got to do the broadcast tonight with Fish. There were, unfortunately for Eric Seward, our thoughts and prayers with him, death in his family tonight, so he missed the game. But Ted Kitchell filled in for him on the broadcast, so that was a positive. And it was on BTN, so not many people got to actually see the game, unfortunately. So we're kind of their eyes and ears for them right now.
It was on BTN Plus.
That's what I meant, BTN Plus, my bad.
BTN Plus, yeah.
Which so they might as well call that BTN minus, because it apparently sucks.
Yeah, but I think that's the only game they play on BTN Plus this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably luckily for both, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. But, and Ted by far has more insight to the game than I do, or a lot of former players. He's very insightful into what's going on, and probably understood Knight's principles as well as anybody did. So if Ted's making those kinds of contributions, I'm sure the people on BTN Plus got their money's worth out of Ted Kitchell.
No doubt. A great game, like I said, to see tonight for the folks. But another guy you got to talk about, or I want to talk about, is Race Thompson. This guy, I sent out a tweet that just says he is just a blue-collar, lunchbox carrying, blue-collar baller. He's just always – he's active. Whether it's he had a tip in, then he comes down, gets a rebound, pulls it down, gets fouled. I think it was the next back down, another rebound, gets fouled. Just doing the little things. And he's a yeoman, man. He is just a workhorse.
Well, he's following Jackson Davis's lead right now, and he's playing as hard. I think when he's on the court, he's playing basketball just as hard as Trace is. And you get those two guys, you become your leaders in just effort, and you're going to get more and more players upping their game to play at their level. And I think that Race Thompson is going to win a lot of basketball games for Indiana this year before this is said and done. I haven't found many flaws in his game, as you said. He's just a run-of-the-mill grinder basketball player who's going to be wherever he's got to be, do what he's got to do. He seems to be able to adapt to whoever he's got to guard, play inside, play outside. I know that it looks like Woody's experimenting, trying to get all the team ready to shoot threes and give them a green light to fire from out there. And, a lot of these guys are taking advantage of giving it a shot, which is the time you do something like that right now. So, I think Race is definitely going to be a major factor in the success of IU basketball this year.
Oh, absolutely. He's got just off to a tremendous start with how he's playing and watching him play. This team has just grown. The growth that we saw between these two games is immeasurable, but is that just getting that first game out of the way, getting some game on film, to some real game action on film and sit down and watch and go over and learn from, shots that they forced, shots that they probably shouldn't have taken, the wrong guys taking a shot last game, and they seem to work a lot of things out in a couple of days, man.
Yeah, and I think you pretty well hit everything on the head. I mean, they're doing a lot of things. You have to realize these guys have only played each other since they started back in the summer. Either uncontrolled ball or got into practice. And I can tell you, as a former player, you get sick and tired of guarding the same guy every night in practice, and that gets really ugly and old, and you get tired because you know what the guy's moves are, you know how to do things, and to come out and to be able to revive yourself a little bit and play against different levels of talent is a great thing for all the players, and that goes for the other teams we're playing too. Finally, get to go against somebody else and start to get some kind of measure of where you are. I think right now, to me, the measuring stick for Indiana, if I was going to give it a measure right now, I would say better than I expected at this point in the season. I didn't know what to expect. I believed in Mike. I believe in Mike all the way. As I said, I've known him since elementary school. We went to school together, and I believe in him. But it's just I didn't know what to expect. But they're exceeding my expectations right now. I don't know how you feel.
Well, this early, I did well, especially after watching that first game. I didn't. I expected them to win, but I didn't expect a dominant performance like this, especially after seeing this team just went on the road and beat Washington for their first game. So we knew that they were a better team, and you could tell that they were better when I watched them in the early parts of the game. But it didn't matter. Indiana was playing at their own level, which was another level up. So I was just surprised to see that jump that big, this quick. Especially in shooting.
Yeah, and certainly shooting's a hot and cold thing, but they're exceeding my expectations primarily because, as I said at the beginning of our conversation, they're playing at or above what I expected their potential would be right now. Like I said, first game they demonstrated it to me for the first half, and I thought they had a little bit of a second half slough off. Apparently, Mike's addressed that to some degree, some fashion, some way. And tonight they just exceeded their playing to their potential and sustainability of that potential, and that will carry you an awful long way if you just play at that level of your potential like Indiana did tonight. It does not matter that we played Northern Illinois or anybody right now at this level. We would have been competitive playing anybody in the country tonight, I believe.
I think so because of the defensive effort, absolutely,
Right.
and I agree with Greg here that they are going to have to shoot better from the perimeter later. But
that'll come. That'll come.
But yeah, exactly. They've got 2 games down.
Right. Yeah.
They've got a lot of.
Shooting will come.
Especially when you're playing together. Like I said tonight, it definitely seemed more cohesive than it did the other day. So in the next game, hopefully you see more cohesion. That doesn't mean they're going to shoot 80% from 3, but just seeing the synchronicity of the offense, you could tell they were in better sync tonight.
Yeah, sustain the effort. Like I said, just keep sustaining the effort and get their syncs better, their timing down. That's going to come. Shooting will fall into place if they've got it. And it appears that looking at tonight, they have the ability to shoot that well. Now they've got to believe in themselves that they can shoot that well all the time. You know,
when you played, and even 10 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe
40 years ago.
No. I'm saying whether it was when you played or up to 7 years ago, guys, you could expect some guys to be there for 4 years. You can't expect that now. And this team has 5 different faces on this roster that is, and we talked about is playing with a group that they didn't know before. So they've only have 2 real games together. And
a new coach. And you throw in an entirely new coaching staff on top of these guys as well as that.
Absolutely.
A great example of that, look at Rob Finney. This is a guy that started all of last year, and right now Rob's going to have to find a way to play himself back into the lineup and the rotation. I think he can do it. I think he's talented enough to. He'll just have to get pissed off enough about sitting, not wanting to play, and hone his game in, realize that where he can make the contributions, start making them there. And I think Rob will be right back in the mix. But, he scored, 7 points tonight?
5, actually.
5, actually, yeah. So
in 17 minutes.
Yeah, so he got almost a half a game. So
He's
getting minutes.
And he's looked
So,
more comfortable when he's in there. He
yeah.
knocked down a three. He was 2 of 3, the free throw line, 1 of 2 from behind the line or the deep line. So he looked comfortable when he was in there and playing. And I said that the other night. He looked more comfortable. I think he's going to be a guy that continues to come off the bench for this team. I think Parker Stewart is going to have to find his role. He's a starter, and he's one of the new faces. He was here last year but didn't play. But he kind of disappears out there. Both of these games, he hit 2 big threes to start the last game, and then not a lot after that. He kind of disappeared a little bit. And same thing kind of happened tonight. How many minutes did he end up playing? Stewart ended up with 17 minutes, so same as Rob Finney. He shot the ball 5 times, 4 times from behind the 3, and didn't hit those. So not a good shooting night for him. Just it'll come because that dude can light it up. He's a great shooter, but it hasn't come for him in the games yet. But I'm sure that it will.
I mean, as long as we're shooting as a team 50% from the 2-point line and up to 38 to 40% from 3-point at this point in the season, I'm pretty happy with that as team stats right now. Individual shooting, like I said, Mike's a great shooter. If he needs to work one-on-one with some of these guys to shoot, nobody knows it better than Woody does, and can certainly work with any player. And they'll get that thing all worked out. Shooting is probably the least of my concerns as long as the team is shooting well.
And exactly. And
you've got depth. You got great team shooting and depth. So if some player's not shooting well tonight, throw some other player in and let's see what he can do. And right now we have the depth to experiment with that, and that's great. We haven't had that at IU for a long time.
No, and talk about depth. Everybody played tonight. We saw everybody. Michael Durr, Logan Duncan.
God, when you beat somebody by 40 points, I hope to God everybody plays.
Absolutely.
I might even have gotten into that
game. Christian Lander played and had he made the most of his minutes tonight. 7 points for Christian. He only played 7 minutes. 7 minutes of the game, and my man KL knocked down 7 points, 2 of 5 shooting, hit a 3, hit 2 free throws. I know he had a steal. So that's making the most of your minutes right there.
Yeah, I mean, can he duplicate that? Can he replicate that? And then all of a sudden, you've got some guy on the bench right now you can bring in, and he's an instant scorer. He might come in for a 5 or 6 minute stint and give you 5, 6, 7, 8 points and stop a movement that the other team's doing, a charge they're making, or ignite a charge for us. So, I mean, that's what I think the coaching staff's just watching for and looking at right now.
Josh makes the comment, I think our defense is really good, but we will definitely get a good measuring stick of how good it is against the St. John's team that can put up some points. The first game I know they played, they put up like 119. I haven't seen if they played since then, but they put up a lot of points against Mississippi Valley State, but they haven't. I don't think they've seen a defense like they're going to see. It will be interesting because that will be probably the biggest challenge Indiana's had to date, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I would say to Josh, yes, Josh, you're exactly right, but don't be worried about wins and losses right now. They don't matter. You're in a preseason situation. You don't want to lose because you stunk the gym up. But if you play against a team that's better than you and you're still getting the things done you need to do, your defensive effort is strong, your shot selection is good, and that's the thing. Indiana's getting very good shot selection, which is why they're shooting 50%. That's a big part of it. So I think the wins will come, and I don't know at this point, this early in the season, that I'm any more afraid of St. John's as I would be Northern Illinois right now, because I'm looking at Indiana and saying, look how good St. John's ought to be going. Ooh, this Indiana team is not the Indiana team we've seen the last 4 or 5 years. This is a different IU ball club, and they're coming at us. So
yeah, they looked a lot better tonight. And I don't want to talk about the other guys like Lander and Geronimo Galloway and all those guys, but Xavier Johnson, he looked like the floor leader that Indiana needs him to be tonight. 13 points, 4 or 5 on field goals. He took 1 3-pointer. He hit it. He was 4 of 4 from the free throw line. He had a couple of rebounds. He had 3 assists, only 2 turnovers, a block, and 2 steals in 19 minutes. That's a pretty damn good stat line for your floor.
That sounds like a Quinn Buckner stat line.
Wow.
Just going out there and doing whatever that night or the team or night, in this case Woody, and what the situation calls for. And, that's your floor general right there. And that's why Quinn is revered as the greatest floor general ever to put on an Indiana University basketball uniform, still to this day. And if that's where he measures himself and that's where he fits out to be, stay true to that, stay with that, and keep looking for ways to make contributions. Again, 13 points, great effort tonight. You may only score 4 points next game, but are you still doing all the other things that need to be done to keep the game at the pace that Indiana wants to control, the pace and tempo?
Greg says that they miss a Zizlov or a Roth, need someone who can come off the bench and shoot. I think they have those guys.
I think they have those guys, yeah.
I do. I do too. And it's only been 2 games. You're going to see that. I really feel confident about that. But that's not a concern to me right now because I think
we talked about that, Jim, and the fact that they're deep and there's only 40 minutes in a game. I mean, right now, to get guys adequate playing time to really get a measure on them, when you got that many guys playing that good right now and you got that kind of depth on your bench, it's going to be tough and take some time to get everybody cycled through and get a good look at them and see what their ability to contribute is going to be. And pick your rotation, your solid rotation of 8 guys, probably realistically is what most teams go through.
Yeah, Miller Kopp is a guy who is, I think, someone who is going to deliver on certain nights when somebody else isn't delivering. He hasn't had a lot of production. He's a starter, hasn't had a lot of production as far as points goes and all that. But like you said, there are other ways. There's a reason he's on that floor. There's a reason he's starting. And I think that's a guy that on some nights, he's going to light it up by hitting 4 3-pointers because he can shoot from out there. There's no question that he can shoot. He's a smart player. And I think that's a guy you want on the floor, you want starting, and you're lucky to have out there. You don't have to have him putting up 12 points a game.
Yeah, how were the rebounds? How did we do rebounding-wise, total rebounds?
Let's see. Of course, my phone went blank. 37.
We had 37, Indiana. And the opponents had 21, 31. 37 to 30. Yeah, my print is – remember, I'm 63 years old, so this print is like, ooh. And I'm too vain to put on reading glasses.
37
to 31.
And that's a lot of rebounds considering they had 43 the other night, and they missed all those damn shots. So they had a hell of a lot more opportunities the other night.
The thing I liked, what I saw in both games was players crashing the boards. Galloway, I was watching him, and he charges the boards every time. And even if you don't get a rebound, you see guys slapping at it. Now, I thought the first game was a little more physical. They were letting them play an awful lot in the first game, which I love, being an ex-football player on top of that. So I think that's good, but you got to crash the boards. You got to get on them. I thought that the blocking out, you can always improve blocking out. You can always get better at that, but it was there and evident. But I used crashing the boards. They win the boards, they win the shooting, and they win the turnovers. They're going to win most every game they play in.
When you do that, absolutely. 37 points off the bench tonight. That's a lot of bench points, man.
That's a lot of bench points. But again, it goes to depth. Everything's going back to the same basic principles this early in the season, having only had 2 games to watch them.
Points in the paint, 36 points there. Of course, Trace Jackson-Davis having a big night. Race Thompson also having a big night with 12 points. 12 and 7 for him. 12 and 10 for a double-double for Race Thompson. So if you got this guy, he reminds me of Steve Risley. If you got this guy over here getting a double-double, and you got Trace Jackson-Davis doing what he's doing, and Xavier and if those guys are doing their roles, this team is going to be tough. If they continue to improve each day, each game, and they get better as they have, this is going to be a good ball club.
Yeah, you definitely, I don't think you have anything to worry about right now, but eventually you hope that somebody doesn't get jealous, that somebody's not scoring enough. But I don't see that as a problem with Mike and this basketball team. Dane and Mike and Thad can certainly control all of that stuff. And winning generally makes everything better.
You got that right.
Winning makes everybody feel good about themselves and what they're doing.
Winning always helps everything.
When I looked at the stat sheet and it said Risley 0 for 0 from the 2-point line, thank God we didn't have 3-point shots when I was playing, or my ass would have sat on the bench more. Because as soon as I fired one night, would have said, Risley, sit down.
Well, and the funny thing is, Mike Woodson wants Race Thompson shooting. He wants these guys shooting. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to see who is the only person that did not take a 3-point shot tonight is Michael Durr and Logan Duncombe.
Yeah. No, that's great that Mike gives them that kind of confidence. And like I said, the positivity of the whole thing building right now to the sustainable effort they're giving, is all good. I mean, geez, like I said, it's exceeding my expectations after 2 games.
Race Thompson, I know I've talked about him already, but 12 points on 3 of 5 shooting, 1 of 2 from behind the arc, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 3 offensive rebounds and 7 defensive rebounds, 10 for total. That's a hell of a night, and that's not your best player. That's not your best post player.
Well, he's not your greatest scoring post player, but I don't know that he's not the best player yet in the post. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to make those decisions right now.
Right.
He's certainly the points are going to go to Trace first, but Race, scoping up 12 and doing everything else he's doing on top of that, 10 rebounds and things. That's no slouch right there. And there's going to be times when Trace is going to have 10 points and Race is going to have 30. Trust me, that's going to happen before the season's over, probably before they get into the Big Ten season.
And one of the things that we've talked about this on other shows that they did not have last year is having a Michael Durr and a Logan Duncombe to practice in there with Race and Trace. Last year it was just those 2 guys, basically. Mm-hmm. They had no one else. So Race going against Trace and those guys, it surely helped them. But talks about that depth. And then the guys that got into the game tonight, some of the guys that we've been wanting to see. I've already talked about Christian Lander. What a great night he had in 7 minutes. He scored 7 points. But Anthony Leal, 7 points for him on 3 of 3 shooting, 1 of 1 behind the arc. He had an offensive rebound, and good night for him. He made most of his minutes getting in there, which is you want to see from the hometown kid.
Yeah, you're having trouble finding fault in any part of this game being the second game of the season, based on what our realistic expectations would be of Indiana basketball or any college basketball team right now. Nobody's honed it in yet. No college team's honed it in to that level yet. And Indiana's right on pace with a lot of other teams right now. So, we'll find out as we get into a little tougher competition, really how we stack up talent-wise. But like I said, right now, effort-wise is what we're working on. And if we're sustaining effort, and then we'll find out about talent and see where we need to put players and how to move them along. You can't really judge talent that much against really not equal talent that you're playing against. You can't, because what talent you have is just going to overwhelm the team like they did tonight. So we don't know who the best players are right now. We know who's sustaining the effort, who's making the effort, who's giving you 110% every minute they're on the court, and who wants to play and who wants to sit. And there's both those types of players on every basketball team.
Trey Galloway also got in. He had a few more minutes, actually, than the other guys did, but he also scored 7 points on 3 of 7 shooting. He knocked down a triple, his first triple. So everybody got in, everybody played, and everybody played pretty well. That's the surprising thing. Everybody played well, which I guess it's usually easier to play well in a game that you're doing well in. It's kind of gives you that confidence, but you can't force the ball in the basket. So everybody was putting the ball in there tonight. So good to see that. Another good sign, Ryan says, another good sign. Fish saying that Trace has played harder in these two games than he's played in previous seasons. Well, I can believe that. And like I said, tonight, he had a killer look in his eyes. You could tell he was making determined. That was the word. His moves were determined. He was getting to the basket. He was going through traffic. There was one sequence where he basically split three defenders, gets the bucket and the foul. Thank goodness he hit the free throw. I was like, hit the free throw, please, man. So he did do that. So this is great for him, as you've got quite a few games before you get to Big Ten play, but he's going to need this kind of tuning up to go into Big Ten play this year.
Yeah, and you're going to get it. I mean, like I said, you've got time to do it, and that's going to come. Definitely. So the other thing I liked, I just was looking at the stats. You know, we forced 22 turnovers. We made 15 on our own, which is a little bit higher than you'd like to see. But then you got to look at films tomorrow and say, how did those turnovers occur?
Right.
Did they occur trying to make something happen, or did they occur because you weren't in the game or you weren't paying attention to what your teammates were doing, and or you were not smart handling the ball? So you want to cut those our turnovers down to 10 or lower. I think it's the number that our coach always used when we were playing. I'm sure Woody's going to follow that to a pretty close letter. But to force 22 turnovers, again, is defensive effort. So, again, every stat you look at right now looks pretty good.
Christian Lander, like I talked about him a little bit, that's a guy that can learn from some of these guys because he is so fast with the ball. But we don't know who is the player that's going to be good 10 games from now. There's probably somebody who maybe doesn't look all that great right now, but 10 games from now is going to be like, where the hell did this guy come from? It takes some games to get things going. Sometimes guys are just ready to go, but not always.
Well, the guys that have the confidence in the skill sets, like Trace and like some of the other players, and they have the confidence and skill sets. They're going to go out and make things happen, win ball games for us right now. But I don't even know that the coaching staff. I don't know because I've not been down to a practice yet. If they care who's making the effort, and like you said, they would take the same approach you would take. We got 10 games to figure out who this is going to be. You know, who's going to filter in and fall into these positions. So we just want to see effort sustained and positiveness on the court and doing everything to. And I was watching a movie on football earlier today with Victor Mature in it, of all things. And they talked about the number one, coach said, number one thing is to find a way to improve your teammate on the court. You know, find a way that you can go out on the field, as they were saying in football, but I can relate that to the court and say, find a way that you're going to make your teammates look better and play better by the effort you make. Improve them by your effort. And I really liked that. I thought that was a good saying. And I think that's the boat that Indiana's in right now. Who are those guys right now that are going to improve everybody's effort on the court?
That's exactly what
a year ago, Jim, we were all sitting here crying and saying, God, here we go again. Another year, probably no dance. You know, and I don't think anybody thinks that. Now, I don't think we're going to, it's a long road, and there's a lot of pitfalls, certainly. But I feel a lot better about what I'm seeing 2 games into this than I did last year. Feeling better about the collection of talent. I'm feeling a lot better about the communication between the coach. And I think that's something that was lacked horribly last year, was the communication between the coach and the players. It was non-existent. It just was.
Don't get me started. Get me started.
It was non-existent. And I don't want to bash coaches or anything, but that was not a good mix. And I think the mix so far looks really good. They're listening to Mike. They respect Mike. And
Yeah.
are we doing country line dancing now?
Oh, that's just the music behind me. I was reading the B-Town Bloomington South got beat in the football regional tonight down in New Albany. So I was just looking at that score that popped up there.
How's Lawrence Central doing? Are they still playing?
You know what? I think they are playing tonight. So I don't know how they end up. Omar Cooper. No, Warren Central, Lawrence Central.
I still hold all the passing records at Lawrence Central. Give me a break. I got career yards, season touchdowns, career touchdowns. Give me a break.
Forrest says, look at see the impact Woodson has had. Look at TJ's effort level. There's definitely been that's the thing that brought Trace Jackson Davis back. First of all, or he wouldn't even be here playing tonight. Was to play for Mike Woodson, to learn what he is learning, to get to that next level, to get to the NBA and be the player he needs to be when he gets there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we all respected Coach Knight. We loved Coach Knight. We just hated playing for him. Yeah. It wasn't any fun in practice or post-game. Even if we won by 50, we couldn't beat Northwestern bad enough, no matter how bad we beat them. But I think that Mike's got that camaraderie with these guys. And I know Dane Fife very well, and I know Dane's got that capability that he picked up from Izzo to make that kind of relationship. And, man, when you get that everybody on the same page like that, players are going to listen to coaches. Coaches are going to feel better about delivering information because it's going to be listened to, applied, addressed and applied. So, yeah, I mean, we can go on talking about all this, but
actually, I almost forgot.
I have no complaints. I have no complaints right now.
And I forgot. We've got highlights. So for everybody that didn't get to watch the game, we've got some highlights. And let's go ahead and get to some of those, John. And you may have to jump in here because I can't remember all of them, what they were. But just let it.
I don't have them labeled specifically, but we'll play a couple or one, and if you want to comment on it, we can do that.
I can do that if it doesn't mute my mic. Let it roll.
Let's go, RU! Let's go, RU! Let's go, RU!
There's Jordan Geronimo with a nice throw down there. You just got to let him just keep playing them because it mutes my mic, I think, or does it?
No, we can hear you fine.
Oh, I know you can now, but when the video's playing.
This is kind of work in progress. People will figure this out the more we do it. But I'm going to try to unmute you specifically from my end when we play the next one. We'll see if I can do that.
Rock
Michael Durr. I mean, that's a great sign seeing Michael Durr, but Xavier Johnson just looks so good with the ball. He did one of the things he did good tonight was get the ball to the right guy at the right time, and he was good on defense. There's a clip coming up here where they have a double team, and they get the steal. He gets the ball, kicks it down for a dunk. I don't know if that's the next clip or not, but let it roll.
Well,
you got cut off.
That wasn't it, was it? That wasn't what you were talking about, or is it?
It was, but play? Steve, it's okay.
Well, on the first two highlights, what I liked about it appeared that they were playing a zone against us. It looked like just from what I could see, they were in a zone defense, based on how you had the camera angles, and for us to be able to score that easily inside and get dunks like that against the zone, zone's designed to stop that kind of inside garbage, and for us to get that. Is really good. That means they're looking and people are getting themselves in the right seams against the zone. Tom Brady would be pretty happy if he would find his receivers splitting the zones like that, zone matchups. The last play you showed, you got a triple team virtually on that guy. And what I'd want to see if I was going back as a coach to look at that is, did the other two players cover the most obvious passing lanes, and did they get themselves in position that they at least took away any bunnies that would come because you got a triple team? and things like that going on. Of course, and it led to a turnover and whatnot. So, if you keep your floor spacing right and keep your balance, you can do those kinds of things. And if you're athletic enough to recover, I like to see that a lot.
Forrest thinks Xavier reminds him of Chris Reynolds that can shoot.
Chris Reynolds can shoot.
Well, he wasn't known as a shooter, I wouldn't say. He was more known as a defensive specialist.
He was a Risley type player.
What else we got, John? I know there's a couple more highlights.
We got one more highlight, and then the other one I've got reaction from, or I don't know if I want to call it reaction, but I've got a shot of Trace Jackson Davis getting pretty pissed off.
After he got roughed up a little bit, yeah.
We'll take a look at those real quick.
Great. That was a great sequence started by Xavier Johnson.
Okay, did you know right there that everybody was looking down court all the way? He wasn't dribbling with his head down. He wasn't, had his face buried. Like, where's my lane to go to the hole? His head was up, and he was looking down court for the open man in front of him. And, as far as anytime you can pass the ball past defenders and get it by them, that eases your chance of getting an easy bunny bucket like they did on a play like that.
You see that, just picking that kind of stuff up, that shows you what someone has learned their entire lives. He has a master's in basketball. I'm talking about Riz. You're picking those things out, little things out, and most of us are looking at the ball or whatever, and you're finding the perfect.
If you want to run it back, just watch his eyes.
I believe you.
His eyes are looking up down court. I mean, he's looking for an open man.
Oh, I know.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
I'm glad. I'm just giving you props for picking that out instead of something normal like some dummy like me or somebody else would do. But I love seeing that. The next thing, the last one we have is we don't have the beginning of it, and I missed it. What the guy did to Trace Jackson Davis. He would end up drawing a flagrant 2 foul and get booted from the game. Not Trace Jackson, of course, the Northern Illinois player. But we did see Trace Jackson was pretty pissed off. But everybody can bow out. But you go ahead and let it roll, John, if you want. And before I forget, make sure we thank Lowe's Digital Photography, the photographer for Indiana Rivals, for shooting those. Some good highlights. We're going to start having more of those for the shows. This is like John said, we're trying to get that stuff out, man, so you guys can see, especially in a game like tonight where most people didn't get to see it. Wish we had more that we could put up there for you. And we will put more up online so you can get those since you didn't get to see much of the game. But
the only comment I'd make there is Trace has got to be aware of he's too critical to the team to get thrown out of a game for something like that. Back in my day, we could cold cock somebody.
Yes.
We just put our hand up and said, "Yeah, I fouled him. I fouled him hard." And they go foul on Risley. He got 4 left, Riz. I mean, that's the way the game was. I remember a game at Iowa. Kevin Boyle put stitches in Isaiah's head. We came out after halftime, and Kevin Boyle had stitches in his head. So, I mean, that's the way it was played back in the 70s and 80s. But no, Trace just has to make sure he knows what he's doing when he does that. I mean, I love the passion. I love it. But also you need to understand, it depends on what kind of refereeing crew you get. Some are whistle happy. Some are going to let you play like no tomorrow.
That's a great comment. It truly is.
And you got to really understand what his value is to this basketball team and to lose him that way. And I'm sure Michael talked to him about that. Not chastising, certainly in any way. Just say, hey, just make sure you're under control.
And he stayed, and he did.
He did
good.
He did.
And you want to see the fire.
For all the little kids that are still up in Indiana. Of course, it's only 7:18 out here in LA. So we got Barney and friends coming on in 30 minutes. So, but
we'll be out of here before then, baby.
For the little kids, don't blow your cool. But certainly voice your opinion, but just make sure you're under control. And it appeared Trace was clearly under control.
Yeah, I think it was a cheap shot in the back, I do believe. Forrest says he remembers you vividly, man. But he does not believe that Reynolds could shoot. He said he loves you. But
I'm just trying to throw Reynolds a bone.
I hear you.
Us non-shooters got to stick together. Come on.
Hey, man, this has been a blast for me. It's been a while, and it's been so much fun. But it's been so fun hearing your takes because, like I said, picking up those little things that the casual viewer does not see, does not pay attention to. We're good, John. Hold up.
Sorry, I thought you were closing out.
Not yet.
Jeez, what are these, the Oscars where you got like 30 seconds to give a speech?
I'm telling you, I'm like,
and then your producer cuts you off?
That has never happened before, man.
Well, so I was trying something new, and it was
out here in Hollywood,
you play out with the music, you talk over the music, and then you play it. Once you're done, you let the music fade out.
Well, you don't play the music so loud you can't talk over the music.
Yeah, it's
it wasn't that loud on my end. Was it loud for you all?
I'm gonna tell you, John. The producers are a dime a dozen out here in Hollywood. Be careful with what you do, buddy. You piss off an actor or a studio talent.
Hey, if it was loud on your end, it wasn't loud on my end. I need to.
Hey, and thank you, Michael. But all the credit goes to Riz the Grizz. But like I said, I love all those things that I love hearing. I'm like, dang, because it's such. I love learning that stuff. I can always try to continue to learn because I didn't get to play for Bob Knight, so I didn't have 4 years of that in my head, or I didn't play after post or all that stuff. So there's so much knowledge that you guys like you have that I love picking the brains and hearing it.
One thing I've said this to every time I've talked to people or been on air. If I back in 1978 to 1981, if I knew then what I know now, Knight would be in the nut house. I'd be so much smarter, and I might be the leading scorer in IU basketball history. I might be in the Hall of Fame with all those rest of those stars, but I didn't know then what I know now. And, to be able to look at it from this perspective and sit back and analyze a game, that's the funnest thing to do. And I picked that up from opportunities to be with you. So I graciously thank you for having me on. And John, just the same way, thank you for calling me. And let me be a part of this because you do a great job with your show. Happy to see IU basketball's back, and hopefully it isn't the last time I'm on this year and being with you.
No, absolutely not, man. It's a blast, and like I said, it's an honor for me and for us to have you on. And like I said, everybody knows who Steve Risley is. Played with Mike Woodson and all that group, but you got to win a national championship, right? He didn't get that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the saddest thing about my time at IU. I think a lot of players will tell you the same thing.
Isaiah said that at the.
All of us are sad that Mike's the one player that we think deserved a ring that never got one, and I know Isaiah feels that way. We all do about Mike. He's just revered and respected amongst his peers, which is us, that much. And I say that with all sincerity.
I'm sure that the entire group of him and the entire Hoosier Nation would love nothing more than to see Mike Woodson get that ring.
Yeah, he can get his ring
now. Get it now.
It's doable, yeah.
Ken Pomeroy just texted out that there are now 202 unbeaten teams remaining in Division I basketball. Indiana's one of them at 2-0.
When's the last time we can say that?
Well, 14th time in the last 15 years they were 2-0 at least.
Okay.
But the only time that they weren't was a couple years ago, and they lost to Indiana State to start the season. So there's that. But, man, what a blast it's been tonight again. Thank you so much. Before I forget, too, big shout-out to Cody, the GM here at Southern Stone Restaurant in Bloomington, located at Patterson and Rogers. Mike Ross, the owner. Great place. This is where the IU basketball coaches show every Monday night. Woody's here, 7:05 with Fish. They'll be here this Monday doing that. Then, of course, on Wednesday, Tom Allen is here with Fish doing the football coaches show. Tomorrow, football, Indiana. They're going to get a win tomorrow, Riz. They take on Rutgers.
I hope so. I mean, I'll tell you what's really funny is since I moved to California, I watched more Indiana football than I ever watched when I was playing at IU or when I lived in Indiana. It's like it's IU football. I'm going doing other things, playing the golf. But, man, I've not missed an IU football game yet. And I know we're all disappointed, but injuries are an evil thing in this sport. And they ripped this team to shreds, about early in the season. And we've gone downhill. But, it's a building process. Tom Allen's doing a fabulous job with that football program. And, I know Scott Dawson's behind what they're doing. And we'll get there. I live literally 20 minutes from the Rose Bowl. It's up to 210, about 15 miles. And on a good day, I can make it in about 20 to 25 minutes to the Rose Bowl. So, in fact, we take our dogs over there and walk around the Rose Bowl every 3 weeks. So, I'm looking for Indiana to be in a Rose Bowl game here real quick.
Well, it won't be this year. I can promise you that.
No, not this year.
But I agree. I hope it happens. That would be nothing happier than that. All right, John, now you can go ahead and play with your music. But thank you so much, Riz. I appreciate you. Looking forward to doing this again soon. Thanks, everybody else, for joining us here on After the Game here tonight, coming to you from Southern Stone Restaurant. Thanks again to John, the producer, doing an absolute knockdown job. Thanks to Low Digital Photography for the highlights. And everybody else. You guys have a great night. I'll be back tomorrow for the football game, just for the game. So I'll see you Monday. Until then, I will see you on the radio.